This is usually my 2, and that's my 2.
Are we on 2 now?
Yeah. This is plugged into 2.
Can you lock in? You got it, Tom?
Yep. You just want this PowerPoint, I think. Yeah. Where's full screen?
So it's over here.
Oh, okay, cool.
Okay, thank you everyone. Thank you everyone for coming. Can you hear me okay? Can you hear that speaker?
Yeah. Kind of cutting in and out, but you're okay.
Is it cutting in and out? I see Sophia just walked in. That's great. So Sophia, if you could come up front and sit, that'd be good. So thank you all for coming today. This is quite an amazing group of young ladies we have here. That's spectacular. We're really glad you could come. We want to welcome you to XR Marin. This has been in place for about a year now, and we've been exposing and training people how to use XR, virtual reality, augmented reality. How many of you know what I'm talking about when I say XR, virtual reality? Some do. Oh yeah. Okay. Good. So what we hope to do today is have you listen to some fellow females here today. We're going to talk to you a little bit about their stories and how they got to where they are today. We've got students from Berkeley. We've got co-founders of companies here. Really great models for you guys to think, hey, I can do this too. So we wanted to introduce you to, before we start, my name is Dane Lancaster. I work in the Marin County Office of Education, and I'm in charge of technology for the county schools here in Marin County. One of my passions is doing what we're doing here today and giving folks like you an opportunity to get a glimpse of the future. I'm going to bet half of you people 10 years from now are going to be having some kind of a job that will involve everything that we're going to hear about today. So look forward to that. Look forward to our speakers. I wanted to introduce you to the superintendent of schools, Mary Jane Burke.
Hi, everybody.
She's an advocate of everything we're doing here today.
So first of all, I want to welcome you as well. And so when you all raised your hands and said, oh yeah, I know what AR, right? What all that is, it wasn't very long ago that I could not have raised my hand, by the way. So within probably the last couple of years. And when Dane says that he's the person that is supporting IT in our whole county, I want you to know he, along with colleagues like John, who's right over there with the camera, are people that are pushing people like me, saying, hey, if you really care that the students in our schools have opportunities to really make a difference and have the skills they need to love what they do next in their world of work or school, you've got to make sure that we're providing these opportunities to students and their families. And so just know that we are really excited that you're here. We know what a great opportunity is. Please, before you leave, make sure you understand this is not a one-day deal. This next couple of hours, there are many, many opportunities that are available during the school year, in the summer. And the only thing you got to do is lean in, raise your hand, sign up, and then show up, right? And show up with all your curiosity, and then you're going to love it. I want to just remind you, though, this isn't just for girls, as you guys might know. And so we happen to have a boy here who was about to walk in and go, wait a second, is this just for girls? No, but there is an issue about women and girls, right? Very often. They're not provided the opportunities and inspiration to know that science, mathematics, etc., those are all important for girls, but also for boys. And if you are noticing it all, the girls are taking over the world, right?
Yeah.
It's happening. It's happening. And so it is really important that we do not in any way, shape, or form based on any issues, but let's just go with gender, race, etc., that we do not decide who's going to do what. Because in the end, the most important thing for all of us is that whatever we do, it's something we love, are passionate about, and the result of engaging in stuff that's fun will ultimately make your school experience and your experience in life even better. So on behalf of all of the other educators, and I think there's like 5,000 of them standing behind me, saying to you, it means a lot to us that you're here today because you'll help us be better at the work that we do. And so if you wouldn't mind a round of applause for John and Dane and all my other team.
And Maya.
Maya, thank you.
So a little more housekeeping here. Bathrooms are out this door to your right. You see those out there. We're going to have 2 raffle drawings today, so intermixed with the presentations. A couple of Amazon cards, and at the end of the session today, there'll be a raffle for an Oculus Go headset. So stick around for that. You should have all gotten in your little name tag packages there a raffle ticket. So make sure you have those. So we'll be calling those out at some point here in the day. Mary Jane was talking about other opportunities. If you hadn't had a chance, if you're interested after today, or you're already interested, there are classes and academies in virtual reality development, augmented reality, and 360 video. Immersive storytelling that are going to be offered this summer, so please take a look at those before you leave if you have an interest. So our first guest today, guest speaker, is
Oh, it's me.
It's you. It is
So
you.
let me just plug. Can I plug my laptop in? Because
You can.
I,
Just plug it in here. Barb,
there we go.
just her company. She's co-founder of
Sama Learning.
Sama Learning, who's developing software for chemistry for high school AP and universities. And just got an award from the Sacramento Accelerator.
Yes, for the AR/VR Accelerator in Sacramento, we won Best Pitch after a 12-week course that we went through there, so it was super exciting.
Barbara's the co-founder with her partner.
Yes, who's a PhD in chemistry from Stanford and is way wicked smart. And what he was on his way to teach a class on light matter interaction at Stanford. I was listening to a podcast on VR and went, that would be a way better way for me to teach rather than just going into a class and writing math equations on the board. And so that's why we created Sama Learning. Oh, I can just do it this way. So we're building a learning platform. What that means is a whole bunch of content that's built and designed specifically for VR in subjects that some of us have challenges around visualizing. Subjects like chemistry, physics, biology, and mathematics to start with. And VR brings a whole lot to the table. How many people have tried VR before? Okay, good, great. So those who haven't, please try it before you go today, because it's hard to explain what a virtual environment is like unless you're in it. So I'm not going to go through a whole bunch of things here, but what I want to show you is this is a video. I don't know if you'll be able to. So basically in our experiences, we have, there's quantum number controls, we've got an atomic orbital. This is atomic orbital theory. So really abstract stuff. How many people here have studied at any level atomic orbital theory? Cool. Okay. So,
whoa, this is so cool, especially when I could go into an orbital and see what it was like from the inside. I felt like it wasn't just my eyes seeing things, it was like my entire body feeling things.
Sorry, so we don't need to listen to that. But what she's saying is my whole body feeling things, right? She had this VR experience where she did this lesson on atomic orbital theory. And if we watch the rest of the videos, we'd see students, when we ask them about it, you say, well, what was it like? Now, imagine reading a textbook and having somebody ask you what your experience was like reading a textbook. And you would say something kind of like this. And when students come out of the VR learning experience, they talk like this. They say, oh, I could see everything in my world, and the orbital was right in front of me, and I could stretch it apart, and I could put my head into it. So they're having this physical interaction with something that hasn't been possible before. So what happens when you learn This is the last slide I want to show you. What happens when you learn in a virtual environment? So what we're talking about is college freshmen taking general chemistry. And over the course of 1,000 students in 3 schools, what we found is that they got better grades, period. We saw a full letter grade learning outcome improvement, a full letter grade. That's a big deal, right? Imagine jumping up a full letter grade in one of your classes that you're in right now. In some classes, we were able to take the failure rate, which means the number of students who failed that particular quiz, down to 0. So what VR brings to the table in learning is dramatic. And students who were down, who were performing at the D and F level, had a 3x improvement. So they were being pulled up to C students, right? So for those of us who are trying to learn something where it's difficult for us to visualize or difficult for us to get, VR brings a whole new level of interaction and of visualization to the table. So I want everybody here to look to the future where you go into a classroom and things like you have right here, which is just so amazing, where you go into a classroom and you have access to tools that give you all this added support in learning. So, quickly, I'm Barb DeHart. We started this company about 1.5 years ago. We're committed to changing education. We're starting at the university level, and then we're going this way. And just like Marin has this pipeline from the middle school to the high school to the JC to the university and out into the workforce, we see education along that same spectrum as well. When I first got out of school, my very first job, I ended up in a technology company and in the marketing department. And I literally walked out going, why doesn't everybody work in technology? I mean, it's the most amazing things. We're solving problems and we're applying these technologies to these new areas of thinking, and you've got these organizations that are really well organized, and engineers, and I just think technology is fabulous as an industry. And then when you look at the opportunities that we have with new technologies coming in, you've got AI, machine learning, the whole data science world, and we've got immersive technologies. Together, it's the future of the world. And just like you have your cell phone in your hand, your mobile phone, you're going to have a VR headset, and it's going to be a VR, AR. It's going to be a way for you to access information, to create entirely new things. One of the other things that we see that I love about the research that we're doing and learning with VR is that we see no difference between male and female. So we see the same learning outcomes for male and female. And that's exciting because, I mean, I was raised in an era where girls weren't necessarily good at math and science, or at least not very many of them, and I certainly wasn't one. And so we're seeing those doors open, and that's our goal, is to help facilitate that. Did I miss anything I should talk about, Dane?
So when you were younger, were you thinking about technology when you were
Not
7th grade, 8th grade?
No, what was I thinking about in 7th and 8th grade? I was, here's my personal story. So when I was in grade school, we had this program called the MGM. It's called the Mentally Gifted Minds Program in the school district I was in. And my sister and I were both in it. And meant we had a high IQ. But for me personally, my school system failed me. They wanted to move us up, and my parents said no. And so school was never interesting to me. It was, I never applied myself. I really didn't think I was very smart because of the messages that I had told myself and had received. And so it wasn't until later in my life, when I was in college, that I really started to understand how smart I was and how much I could bring to the table. So all of my self-doubts that I had throughout my early education really started to shift, and it was my career in technology that really delivered me into my own power, my own confidence, my ability to understand and see the world in completely different ways. So I credit it with everything.
And so just to give you more detail here, we're going to, our three speakers will present today, tell a little bit about their story, and then we're going to break up into smaller groups. And you'll have an opportunity to sort of interact in a more intimate way, ask them questions. We have some questions for you if you'd like to use those as well. So you'll have an opportunity to ask Barb and Susie and Sophia questions as well as hear them speak a little bit before we get started. So thank you very much. Susie, you're up next.
I'm up.
Are we going back to here?
I have my
Oh,
file
okay.
on this one actually,
Okay.
so.
let's put that
Thank you. Alrighty. So I'm gonna have to probably exit out of this real quick and find mine.
Susie flew up from Los Angeles. She's from Los Angeles.
Yes.
And kindly made the trip up here. I'm very excited about talking with you today.
Yes.
What's the name of her company? Bad VR.
Let's see here.
Would you mind changing that name to Good VR?
Yeah.
I get that often, actually. Do you have the clicker? The slide
Yeah.
clicker? Thank you. Perfect. So, hi everyone. I'm Susie. This is my company, Bad VR. We do immersive data visualization. So I'm going to speak a little bit more to like what I'm working on a little bit further in the presentation. If I can get this clicker to work here.
Oh, it's looking over here.
Oh.
Hold on, let's do this.
Thank you. Sorry, technical difficulties.
Oh.
Go into, are you in full presentation mode?
I am in presentation mode. I think it's resume slideshow here.
Oh, there you go.
If you can, I always have trouble with these.
Yeah, what?
Let's see here. There we go.
There you go.
Okay, perfect. So obviously this is me. I am building the world's first immersive data visualization platform. It's a little bit about me. For the last 6 or so years, I've been working on designing data analytics products, data visualization products, but specifically for 2D. And in the process of doing that, I hit every conceivable challenge that one could hit building 2D data visualization products, which is why what inspired me to build immersive three-dimensional ones. I have a couple hackathon wins under my belt. It's something I'm super passionate about. A lot of the ideas for businesses or job opportunities have come from hackathons. So that's a little bit about me, but I'd like to take you through my personal story and how I got to where I am today. So I was born in 1985. Yes, I'm a little old. Getting older every year in La Jolla, California. Beautiful San Diego. I absolutely loved it. My dad was studying at UCSD Medical School. He had gotten a PhD in bioengineering and decided that there was no money in that and he wanted to support a family, so he went back to medical school and was still in school when I was born. However, when I was 6 years old, my dad graduated and he got a job in a small town in Parkville, Missouri. So population was about 7,000 people. And that big change, there was a huge change for me personally. I loved California. I loved the liberalism. I liked the weather. I liked the people. So when I was moved to Parkville, it was difficult. I didn't fit in. I was culturally different. My parents are hippies, and I say that, and I mean that. They don't wear shoes. Their hair is pretty crazy. I always wore handmade clothing because my mother was a weaver and she was a seamstress. So of course I got made fun of. But I loved several things. I loved horses, I loved art, and I loved Star Trek, music, and technology. So my parents, being the amazing people that they are, and I absolutely love them, they made sure that I went to a lot of museums and sort of what I guess would be considered nerdy now, like technology events and Star Trek conventions, actually. So I was obsessed. This was in Parkville, Missouri. We didn't really have anything at my school. We had 2 computers for the entire school, and they were really old computers with like actual floppy disks. So when you have an icon that save, that icon used to actually be a disk, and it used to be floppy, and you had to stick it in the computer, and it was terrible. And I did well in school, but I didn't really like school. So my biggest outlet for like passion was Star Trek. So there were episodes broadcast every night. I would tape them on a VHS tape. so I could rewatch them over and over again. Because this vision of the future where you could step into a room and be anywhere in the world made me really excited, because I thought I could go home to California. I could be in this small town, and instead of being there, I could step into a room and be anywhere. Specifically, me personally wanted to be back in California, which I considered to be my home. So I did actually go to conventions. I had a picture that was signed by the entire Next Generation Star Trek cast. I was obsessed with Deanna Troi. She was who I wanted to be. She was like my role model. I loved Data too, of course. Is another favorite. And then, of course, this is a holodeck. I did actually learn Klingon, and I owned, and I still do own, a blueprint of the Star Trek Enterprise. So that was one of the presents for Christmas one year. I'm very glad my parents supported this passion of mine. So at age 25, after school, I packed all of my belongings and I drove back to California because I wanted to work in technology and I wanted to live in California again. It was my dream. I had $600 in my pocket, is everything that I had, and I actually had 2 plastic containers from IKEA full of my belongings and a car, and that was it. I had some family out here, so I stayed with them while I sort of got started. But it was a very big change in my life, but it was something that I had to do to move myself forward. So I started to dive into tech, and the way that I started to get into it, because I guess I should back up for a second, what I studied in school was psychology. And in my school, there was no such thing as UX design, user experience. We had no computer science classes. And the reason that I chose psychology is because my parents are doctors, and they wanted me to be a doctor, but I didn't want to be a doctor. So it was sort of like this compromise, like the least doctorly thing that I could study that was technically still doctorly. So when I got out here, I was like, I didn't really have a good experience in school. I don't really want to do anything with psychology. So I'm just going to show up at a bunch of tech events, and I'm just going to become a tech person. Even though I don't have any, technical training in this, I don't really know what I'm doing. I'm just going to show up and make friends and hope that somebody teaches me what I need to know. So that's what happened. I discovered a sort of small emerging tech scene in Los Angeles. It definitely wasn't San Francisco. There's a whole long story I could tell about why I didn't end up in San Francisco. I tried. My car got broken into. It was really bad. I didn't have any people here. I was broke. So anyways, I ended up in LA and found that there was actually a tech scene there. I found a really great mentor, which is one of the sort of key pivotal moments in my career. Somebody that reached out to me and saw value and saw opportunity and potential in me and was able to nurture it and sort of explain to me what UX design was, what product design was, and the fundamentals of doing that. So I never received any formal training, so I needed somebody to sort of step into that role and allow me to be apprenticed in that environment and to teach me those skills. So I met him at one of these tech events, and we've become co-founders now. He's now the CTO of my company. He's also given me a lot of job opportunities, and it's one of the ways in which my career has dramatically moved forward. And I also, this is another little funny anecdote. So I actually got a job offer from Google at one point. I turned it down so I could work at local startups in Los Angeles because I wanted to learn how startups worked. I wanted to see a CEO, I wanted to work next to a CEO, and at a company like Google that would not have been possible. My dream was always to own my own business, so I turned that down. My mother was so mad at me. So she was like, how could you? I tried VR for the first time. This is actually a picture of me trying VR for the very first time. I couldn't afford a headset when it first came out, when the Oculus first came out, and I couldn't afford a computer that had the graphics cards that were necessary to try VR. So I found somebody who had this stuff, and I was like, please let me try it, please let me try it. So he was like, okay, if you buy me lunch, you can come over to my house and try VR. And so I was like, fantastic, and I did. And I loved it. I was like, the holodeck is real, and I can't believe this is happening in my lifetime. I want to start a business using this technology. This is amazing. This is the future. But at the time, the hardware was very brand new. It was still very clunky. It made me a little sick because I get very motion sick super, super easily. And, it just wasn't something that I felt the market was ready for. So I was also still moving forward in my career, and I felt like I had a lot to learn. So I sort of tabled this idea and was like, you know what? I'm going to do this, but not right this second. I need to struggle a little more. I need to learn a little more. The market needs to mature. People need to learn about this technology. When I'm ready, or when the market's ready, I'll jump into this. So eventually, a couple years later, I did. I sat and I waited for the market to become ready. And in the meantime, I built up my career, and I went from being broke. And at the time that I founded Bad VR, I had a 6-figure job. I quit at 10 p.m. on like a Friday night because I was too scared to tell my boss I was going to quit, because I was leading their entire product design team, and they were, I knew that they'd be really mad at me. So when I tried to quit, they tried to give me a 5-figure raise to keep me there, and I also turned that down. I had to tell the CEO, it was a startup, so I was like, you remember when you founded your business and you walked away from your job, there was no amount of money that could deter you from your dream. That's where I'm at. And so luckily he was very understanding, and he's been very supportive of what I've done. Anyway, so I found the right co-founder, which was my original mentor, and Jad, who's the CTO. I've worked with him in a bunch of different data visualization analytics companies. So I was like, you are the right person. I had to convince him. That was not easy. But telling somebody that you're going to change the world and the way that data is viewed and the way that people access data, I was like, you're doing that for real estate, but let's do it for the rest of the universe, and let's change the world. I gave him the Steve Jobs pitch. It definitely worked. And then we got some office space at the Riveter, which is a co-working space for female founders. So that's been really amazing. Anyways, this is just a brief sort of overview of the work that I'm doing at Bad VR. So when you think of data visualization right now, you think of like pie charts, line graphs, and scatter plots, right? Like that's how we think of data. That's how we view data. Those are necessary when you have a limited amount of screen size on one of these flat screens. You sort of have to compromise to get all of this data onto one screen. However, with immersive technologies, I'm sure all of you know, you have an unlimited amount of space to visualize data. So you don't have to use charts and graphs. But you do still need a standardized way to display data and to work with data. So what I'm building are the new immersive equivalents of what we now use as a pie chart, line graph, or scatter plot. These work for AR and they work for VR. And they're standardized environments in which to paint different data sets for you to better explore them, ingest them, analyze them, and find insights within these data sets. So we have 4 different ones. Geospatial, which is any sort of data set that's tied to a geospatial location, latitude, longitude type stuff. Group segmentation, audience and user level analytics, networking, nodes and relationships between nodes, and then lastly, transactional. So kind of somewhat technical, so I apologize, but that's basically high-level concept what we're doing. So this is basically my sort of like an overview of the challenges that I've had as a female founder and a female in tech in general. They fall into 2 categories. There's external challenges and internal challenges. External being things that happen to you from other people, whether that's workplace harassment, lack of resources in your environment, unfair expectations placed upon you, where you have to work harder than other people to get, the same sort of response, because that happens to me and has happened to me often. But then there's also internal challenges, like Barbara spoke to, like feeling like something, like you're just not capable of doing it because people keep telling you that you can't. And that's always been something that I've struggled with, because I've never seen anybody achieve what I want to achieve who looks like me or who comes from my background. So I sometimes feel like, well, maybe that isn't for me. And that's not true. And, just being able to connect with people and see people who are like you achieve what you have achieved is very, very powerful. But, if you look here at this center, all of these things exist around you, but they don't have to touch you, and they don't have to stop you from doing what it is that you want to do. So, they're always going to, unfortunately, orbit around you. You have the gender stereotypes, like girls aren't good at math or girls aren't good at tech. You're going to hear them, but you have a choice of whether or not to believe that. And I hope that you don't believe that, because I think everyone in this room proves that that's not true.
And the data supports that it's not true.
100%. The data definitely supports that. So here are just some professional tips that I can give that have worked for me. The first one that I always tell people, never ever stop. If you just keep putting one foot in front of the other, eventually you'll get there. Sometimes your timeline is different than other people's timeline. You'll see other people get there, in 2 years, and you think to yourself, well, it's been 2 years, and why am I not there? Everybody works differently. Everybody's got a different timeline and a different time to bloom. So just always keep that in mind. But if you keep going and you do something for 10,000 hours, eventually you will become good at it. So don't ever stop. If it's something you want, don't stop. And love to learn. So I am not traditionally like, I don't like classrooms usually. It's never been something that's been fun for me. Maybe if we had all of this cool hardware, I would have liked it, but that's unfortunately not how my classroom was. But I love to learn. Learning doesn't have to be reading a textbook. It doesn't have to be, I'm sitting at a desk and, somebody's lecturing me. You learn every day in the world around you, whether you're going to museums or you're, taking a walk and Googling what type of flower is that, or why does this tree look this way? It's just asking questions, really. It's like, don't ever stop asking questions. Don't ever stop questioning, why is this? What is that plant? Why are things this way? I can't tell you, if somebody pulled my Google search history, I Google everything because I always have questions. Like, why do people line up the way that they do? Why do we board aircrafts, by section and not from the back to the front because it makes more sense? And just like, why are things the way they are? So you just have to love to learn, because if you can love to learn, regardless of where you are, you'll always become better than you were yesterday because you're constantly improving yourself. And then lastly, stand up and stand out. So if you don't advocate for yourself and you don't put yourself out there and you don't say, hey, I'm here, pay attention to me, no one will, because you are always going to be the person that has to advocate for you. And of course your family will when you're young, but when you're an adult and you're out there, nobody's going to pay attention to you unless you give them a reason to. So you just really have to put yourself out there and say, I'm here, I'm loud, I'm proud, pay attention, I'm amazing. And sometimes women are taught, like, don't toot your own horn too much. You should be more, passive or whatever. And some people actually, someone said that to me 2 days ago. They were like, well, quit bragging, because I had told them I was coming up here to talk. And I was like, I'm going to advocate for me, and I'm going to say this is what I'm doing, and if you think it's bragging, I don't care. So these are two of my favorite quotes. The purpose of life is to be defeated by greater and greater things. And I love that quote because it doesn't tie life to success. A lot of the times life is failure, but failure doesn't have to be a bad thing. You learn so much more by failing than you do by succeeding a lot of the times. And don't get me wrong, I want all of you to succeed, but in that process you are going to fail, and that's just the nature of success. It takes 5 failures to every one success, and if you don't know how to handle failure and you don't know how to get value from it, you're never going to really succeed, and if you do succeed, you won't succeed again. So you just have to learn to love failure, and you have to learn to embrace it and everything that it teaches you, and you're on the right track if you're failing at ever bigger and bigger and greater things. So I love that quote. It's by Rainier Maria Rilke. He's a poet that my dad is a big fan of, and so I've always bonded with my dad over this poet. We're both big fans. And then Nora Ephron, above all, be the heroine of your own life, not the victim. So you're always in charge of you. You're always able to build your own worldview. And if you view yourself as the leader and as the person who is successful, people will treat you that way. And there's really nothing to be gained by being a victim or allowing circumstances to define who you are. You can always reframe that, build your own narrative, and succeed and take over the world on your own terms. So, anyways, that's me.
Sophia Boucher is from New Zealand. If I recall, you are the vice president of virtual reality at Berkeley organization, club, whatever that is over there. Right? And she's going to tell us a little about her story and what she's doing here today and what she thinks she's going to be doing in the future. I believe Sophia, you are going to be going to school in England in the fall?
Yes.
Yeah.
I'm actually pushing it back. I won't start until January now.
Oh, you're pushing it back.
Just waiting for Wi-Fi to connect. It's always when you have technical talks that you have technical difficulties. Just
Yes.
that is how it works.
Every time.
All right. I can tap. Okay.
We can.
Do this too if you want.
That's okay. I don't have USB. Okay. Hi guys. Hi. So, I'm Sophia. As Dane said, I am from New Zealand, so I speak a little funny. I'm from Christchurch, New Zealand, which is in the bottom of the South Island. I like to say that I'm a neuroscientist, and at my core I'm a researcher, but what I really believe in is actually building a brighter world and building a better tomorrow. I am a current double major. Both those majors are with honours from UC Berkeley, and at my core I'm a scientist. That's what I do. I do science. And the way I kind of do science is through the most convoluted path you could possibly learn, and that's really what I want to try and tell you about today. So I was graduating high school, and during high school I was told that I wasn't allowed to take math. I wasn't allowed to take physics. I sneaked into chemistry because someone dropped out of chemistry and I took their place without asking questions and just didn't take no for an answer. I would sit in class until they just accepted that I was in chemistry now. So I was really kind of pushed away from the sciences, and kind of in my defiance I was like, you know what, like you're telling me I can't do this, so I'm going to go become a surgeon. So when I was graduating high school, I started taking some medical school classes in New Zealand before I looked at coming to the States here to UC Berkeley, because that was really what I wanted to do with my life. So I graduated in 2012. Then, when I came to UC Berkeley, I took a psychology class, and I was like, hey, I actually really like this. So I want to learn how to do that, because at my core, the reason I wanted to go to medical school was because I wanted to learn how to help people. And so I realized that, you know, as a psychologist, I could help a lot of people. However, I took my second psychology class and was like, I really don't like this anymore. At that point, I then had transferred to the University of Florida. I'd followed a professor over there who was doing some work with nanotechnology. And he said, come over here for like a summer, you'll really enjoy it. And I was like, okay, I actually really do like this and I want to keep working with you. So I transferred officially to UF, and I was working within the physiology department, looking at how the body works on a kind of molecular level. It was at that point that I got very, very injured. You see, back when I was in high school, I was actually an Olympic athlete. That was one of the reasons why I got pushed away from science, because I got typed as like the jock. Which was, again, that kind of push point of, like, you know, try not to tell me what to do, because then I will do the exact opposite of that. So I had to retire from my sport. I had 3 different surgeries on my leg, and I was still not able to run at that point. I was living almost every hour of every day on crutches, and they told me that I would never be able to do my sport again. Again, try not to tell me what to do, because I will do the exact opposite. So while I was in hospital, I started reading up about rehabilitation protocols. So when I went back to New Zealand, I found a physical therapist who was about as determined and crazy as I was. I was like, hey, I want to try something a little different. Do you think we could do this? And 17 months later, I ran my first half marathon. Wow. So, around that time again, I was very lucky with my PT, and I realised that I wanted to be able to help people in the same way that they helped me. So I did an advanced diploma in muscle physiology, and I became a rehabilitation assistant, and then I became a full PT. I worked with spinal rehabilitation as well. I was at that point that I kind of started doing a bunch of other things. I never tend to do one thing at one time. And then I looked at coming back to Berkeley because I still hadn't finished my degree yet. So I came back to Berkeley having a bit more understanding about the body, a bit more understanding about myself. And I realized that the things I liked about psychology was actually understanding how the brain worked, how we worked, the why of what we are. So I took a neuroscience class. And I realized that that was actually what I loved. The brain itself and all these little electrical and chemical signals that make us, that's what I wanted to try and understand. So I started studying cognitive neuroscience. It was around that time that I kind of fell into tech again. I hadn't had a math background, I hadn't had a tech background at all. But I come from Christchurch, New Zealand, which you may have heard in the news a bit more recently. But a bit further ago, we had a devastating earthquake, which was the largest energy release of any earthquake in recorded history, which absolutely decimated my city. And as a result, we had a lot of people with anxiety disorders and post-traumatic stress disorder that don't respond to the normal treatment. And I wanted to be able to help my family, my friends. I wanted to be able to help my city. And I had seen VR be used as a PTSD treatment. So I was like, great, I should look into this. And when I started reading, I realised that we had no idea how this technology actually affected our brains. Again, coming from the neuroscience perspective. I started talking to people, I started asking, I started being like, hey, how does this work? Why does this work? And the answer I got was, I don't know, which I didn't really like. And so I sat down about 1.5 years ago and was like, right, I'm going to learn how to code because I want to understand this. And then I have stumbled into this amazing world of technology and immersive reality, or as my parents like to call it, that computer stuff. I will be starting my PhD in January. I was going to be starting in October, but I've been accepted on a fully funded PhD at the University of Leeds over in England with a $20 million grant to look at how can we actually develop these immersive technologies to help people in high school learn better, but also to, this is going to keep switching off if I keep talking, but also looking at not just how do you learn school better, but how can we help you learn better about the world and about who you are and about what you are capable of doing. So that's what I get to do for the next few years. So, yeah, I'm really excited. So, again, looking from that neuro thing, I've included a few slides based on like some of the work that I've been doing. Because the idea is that if you can build it, you can understand it that much better. So what I wanted to understand was what happens if we add in a thermal element to VR. So I built some gloves. So I learned electrical engineering for this last year. I also occasionally fly drones with my brain.
You do what?
I fly drones with my brain. I didn't bring it here today because at the moment I'm trying to fly 3 of them at the same time. It's a little wonky. I also do a bunch of brain imaging stuff. So if you kind of hold your fist up, this is about the size of your brain, right? So if we kind of go like that, imagine that this is the front of your brain, and then go like that, that's this image here. So this is the back of our brain, where our visual system is, coming around to the front of your brain here. So what I wanted to try and understand was, where does the word like boat come from in the brain? Where does the word chair come from? In order to see if I could decode language from the brain. So I have managed, as part of the lab that I have joined, I have managed to decode the brain singing a Pink Floyd song. So you guys might not know what that song is, but your parents definitely will. I was also at an MIT hackathon working with AR, which is what Suzanne does, and I flew a rocket using my muscles. So again, taking that kind of rehabilitation approach, how can we tell you what muscle needs to be active during your physical therapy? It would be kind of fun to build that up and fly a rocket. So, going back to my timeline. Everything I've kind of explained to you doesn't make sense when it's said all at once. Because this has been my timeline, and this has been most people's timeline. You've just heard from 2 amazing other speakers who have also said, hey, this was not A to B, this was A to Z to C to G to J, and then to B. And that's kind of how life works. And the one thing I really want you to get out of us sharing this is that this is normal. And if anything, this is the best way to be. I've had several different things that people call careers. I started off in high school as an EMT, working in ambulances. Then I started doing medical school before I came to the States. I've been a receptionist. I teach yoga. I coach the All Blacks as an assistant strength and conditioning coach, which is one of the two-time world champion rugby teams. I've been a UX engineer, and I will soon be a PhD student. The whole thing is that it's okay to have these different titles, because underneath all the titles is still you and your story. Because skills are additive. What you learn in one class, you might not use the calculus you're learning, you might not use a differential equation in your day-to-day life, but the thinking of analysis and how to approach a problem, you will use no matter what job title you have. So, as Suzanne was saying, approach the learning with excitement. Figure out what you don't know and be open to learning about that thing. Because in life, there is no right answer. There was no, should I do a PhD? Should I, again, accept a job offer from Google where I would sit nice and happy and keep my parents happy for the rest of my life? Or can I go ask more questions? Because there is no perfect story for you. So think about what is the next great thing, great challenge I want to learn about. And dive into that. Do what excites you. And the reason I say that is because when we're younger, I know that apparently when I was younger, I've got videos of this, I was like, I want to be an astronaut. And this is what a lot of kind of younger kids do say. So why aren't we all astronauts? It's because at some point in school we get told that we can't do that we shouldn't do that maybe there's no money in that, or maybe that, oh, but you need to be good at math and physics and this and that in order to be an astronaut. And so you're like, great, okay, I'm going to go learn maths and physics and this and that because I want to go be an astronaut. But why are there astronauts in the first place? This comes back to the question you were saying about, like, why do we board planes in specific groups? Is that someone at one point in time, and throughout history, a lot of people looked at the stars and they didn't just go, wow, that's pretty. But they're like, great, those are pretty. How do we get there? What do I need to build to get there? And so the other thing, and this is the one thing that kind of is my guiding principle of life, is ask better questions. Because the smartest person in the room will be the person who at one point in time knew the least. The best thing you can do is to ask questions. And again, sometimes it's kind of like, oh, what if people think I don't know things? Great. Because then you're going to come out knowing more than anyone else. You're going to come out knowing more than the people who didn't ask questions. Is that my favorite thing to do is to go into like a professor's office hours who, like, I was talking to someone about clouds last week. I was like, hey, I saw a cool cloud. Why was that cloud existing? Because I know nothing about clouds whatsoever. But now I kind of know a little bit more. So the whole thing is you get to learn, you get to think. So, summary points. Use the skills that you have. As women, we so often get pushed away from these kind of STEM, these science, these mathematics. But if you are good at them, then stay in them. But in that same way that so many of us also have a lot of other skills. Some people are people. Does that seem to make sense? Some people are people. Awesome, great. So if you have that skill, then you don't need to struggle to learn how to code to then spend 2 years as an engineer and then get promoted to a product manager. If you're good at managing and time management and managing people, then apply for that job straight away. But if you are good at the technical skills, then use that technical skill and don't feel like you need to be pushed towards what other people are telling you to do. Remember that even if that does happen, no matter what you do, you will be better for it. You are improving. A skill is additive. Just because I didn't like that first psychology class didn't mean that I didn't learn anything from it. And then finally, ask better questions. The general rule is ask people why they think that, why that is, what can be done about it, why at its core, and then of things, ask how. How was that built? How was that decision made? How do we build this thing to get to this place? So, my last thing. We've all probably seen the quote around, be bright, be bold, be brilliant. But I like to add, and if all else fails, be stubborn.
Right on. Well done.
So, thank you.
Excellent quote. Stubborn is good.
So we are going to we're gonna take a little break here. We're gonna segue. Here's a nice segue from what Sophia said. Ask better questions. You're going to have an opportunity to be in a little small group with each of these speakers today, and you can ask them some better questions as well about what they're doing, why they're doing it, why they're doing what they're doing, and anything else you would like to ask them that you think would be important for you. So we're going to break out into groups, but before we do that, we're going to have a raffle drawing.
Very exciting raffle drawing for our super girls today.
Yeah.
Thanks. And along with all the nuggets of empowerment you'll take away, you might get to take away a gift.
Okay, so I'm going to draw right now, and hopefully you guys have a ticket.
Our first winner.
The first winner is, we put names on here, is what we did?
You could just do the number.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it's easier.
771. The last three numbers are 771. Anybody? Oh, there we go.
Oh my gosh,
Okay,
great.
you get a Amazon gift card. Wonderful, thank you.
Let's take it out. Okay. That's okay.
Just want to read the last two numbers. 763. You? Oh, great. Congratulations. Okay, so we're gonna break up into small groups now. You'll be able to sit with each of our speakers for a brief moment, and then we're gonna move around. So it's gonna be a little active here. So if you could, we're going to listen to what Maya has to say about getting to your groups.
Hi, I'm Maya, and to me, this part of our program I think will be really special and something hopefully that you can take away with you, because through my life, I have always hung on to the nuggets of information that my mentors have given me, and a lot I've heard from our amazing panel today. Learn from your failures, be stubborn, and when you see innovation, jump into it, because why? Women can do technology, right? Yes. Okay, so our next, we are transitioning now, so if you need a quick bathroom break, they're outside around the corner to the right. We're breaking into 4 groups. Our first group is with Barbara, and she'll be in this corner, and we need to move a couple of chairs over. Each of you have a colored dot. So Barbara's dot is, I believe, green. So if you have a green dot on your badge, you can migrate over to that corner. Our second corner in the back will be with Susie, and that is a blue dot. And Sophia, you're in our amazing tech studio. Not only do we have a VR studio, but we have a media studio. So we have a little group of conference room there for the group number 3, the orange tags to meet. And if you have a purple dot, you're meeting with our illustrious XR staff, Serbi and me. So you can all rise, take a stretch, grab a beverage, use the restroom.
Oh my gosh, you turned. How amazing your presentation.
Oh my God, you guys were like crazy.
Those were you guys. That was excellent. It was so interested in the research.
Yes.
Oh, I'm like, my thesis is due in 3 weeks, like just 3 weeks. I was like, also, I was like, so like, I was just like, you was talking, I'm just like, literally, like, yes, like, I didn't think yes.
So we're gonna take a picture.
I love how you want to go.
I feel like this it doesn't matter the same, because that's what I want.
You think
You know, it's like, just be annoying and ask me a question.
Really never stop.
It's totally the value of the question. Why? I don't understand. Help me understand.
Right.
And if somebody doesn't want to help you understand,
Sophia,
they're not the.
Then ask the question of another person until somebody gives you an answer. 100%. Yeah, I was
so
like,
excited.
I feel that. Yes.
Yeah, when we saw the data coming back from our early lessons, there's no learning outcome difference between.
Bingo.
You guys were great.
Thank you.
You're very good.
For putting this on and giving us the opportunity to do it, like, honestly.
this is amazing.
Yeah,
So great.
I think it's spectacular.
Wonderful.
You guys are leading the way in such amazing ways.
I'm gonna run to the bathroom real
Oh,
quick.
yeah, out that door.
Around the corner. Okay, let me just do this real quick.
And then you're in the media lab. Would
Okay.
you like a drink
I
or
was
any
like, I
treat
want
or something? You guys are okay? Yeah, I'll show.
So we're gonna do 8 to 10 minutes with each group, and then we're gonna rotate the speakers. So you guys are gonna do speaker. Yeah, that's the smart way, because it's too hard. Well, yeah, it's really an idea.
Yeah, I think that's the idea. Yeah. All right. Very cool. Slide.
So do you guys have questions? Do you have questions or what you want to ask?
So if you're yellow, you're blue. So if you're yellow, you're blue. Okay.
Everybody's right here. I'm in here, been in here. You haven't been in here.
I'll grab them.
Okay.
Grab them.
On the ground. That is it. That is fine. So I think we have the distribution. We're missing our yellow.
I know.
Okay, and I'll
Tea, there's tea there too, guys. Did you guys ever do it? I got you.
So blue is now.
Like, we all bump into each other many times. So.
Yes, yes. Embrace the moment. That's right. Lovely. Lovely, guys. Are you doing?
Yeah. So I mean, really great. You guys, what an opportunity. Take advantage, ask questions.
That's called a question. There's no questions on them.
Oh, and the news after about 10 minutes, the leaders are going to rotate. So you will be heading our media room,
It'll be like a musical chair.
musical chair, so instead of moving to groups, so you have a chance to say
Very smart.
okay? Logical mind, creative mind. So, the most common, so you have to use did you want to have a layer above the programming language and that it's you're using it's like that would be great.
Have you seen any of the VR applications where you can actually go to like some place in Paris or Greece or whatever? Okay, well, they have one, so you can go and put on the headset and read historical information about what you're looking at. So you can like walk on the street and tell you that. Exactly. It's like having a tour without needing to work and without cluttering your space. But we have a friend that
Yeah, so the way that, it's a great question. So the 360 video like this, it has a single point of reference, so the camera's not moving anything, right? If the camera were moving, if I was holding that above my head and I was blocking from the screen, I would be able to move.
It's very cool. I love it.
That's a limitation of 360 video. So 360 video is a great way to share, like if you're somewhere on a field trip, you can have 360
Maybe
video.
your questions for
Students who could come from a field trip can actually experience it for themselves. So they can look around and they can see everything else. But when you look at programming in Unity, like creating a completely artificial environment, that is, so that means that
I can tell you that my company, specifically accountants, have been very crucial. Things that are brand new. So if we don't have these patents also
yes, so if you, okay, so, oh, I see. So if you have VR content, you can upload it to YouTube. If somebody's watching it with a VR headset, they can see it in 360. If they're watching it from their computer, it just shows them.
So then you don't have any particular.
So over this camera, would you be able to see in the 360 video during VR, you still be able to see what it is.
Oh, there's so many. Mainly, I guess, like the conservative language and education, training, and actually more, if they were any original. So, there was biology, very different, and then just culturally, you know, like I came from a background where we was a Cambridge to ask a bunch of questions, to question why everything is the way that it is, and not how I was raised, and so it's why I'm like, who's going to listen, asking questions that are so important. It's like you're questioning what questioning tradition is perceived to be more powerful, and so I would unintentionally run up, so why do you wear pearls? Why do you go to church? Why is it like and like that?
For those who had favorite,
So I guess that was the biggest cultural difference, just the outlook. You know, the most similar things.
so in VR, you can fly over the ticket. You can go to a very specific address. You can see the house that you live in. You can
Asking for
see
friends
the
to do, I don't know what this is, with, you know, my mother,
you can go to a hundred.
you know, just, it's just, they're very, two very different.
So,
And I increase value.
For these girls that are kind of interested in this tier, what's the best educational pathway for them to like high school on, middle school?
well, I think one of the things is to realize that it requires a apprenticeship. One of the things that is important to realize is that to create any piece of VR content requires a whole host of skills. You need writers and artists and programmers and just so it doesn't matter which place you come from, if you want to play this, want to come back, and then I think that
running into the same problems every time I go on the corner, and that inspired me to start the person perspective that inspired me. I guess like the entrepreneurial level in my father is an entrepreneur. Like he's also got owns his own hospital. So he had a really background. And then also traveling to different countries and seeing all of that diversion. We're gonna move me migrating
Any final,
musical chairs.
final questions?
What was nice meeting all of you guys in Boston. Ready for migration? Hello. Hi, so I'm the next person who's gonna answer your questions. I'm with Excel Libraries and Survey Conquer. The people who manage the space, and I'm founders. What do you find interesting? Started we bought equipment and space. We run a training, and we have webinars and the summer programs that teach kids about VR. So I'm just here to answer any questions you have about VR, or whatever you want to express in terms of why you're interested and what brought you here. What's the most exciting thing about VR for you? I'll just give you a little background about myself. So I was an engineer and I worked for electrical energy-related companies for 6-7 years, and then I decided I wanted to make more of an impact about how do we communicate with people about important issues and how can we solve problems. So I thought that VR is a very good medium to communicate and really show people, bring people closer to things that are things you can't see or experience. And so, a great example is that recently there was fires in Northern California in 2017, and so they were devastating. And not many people really beyond what you see on TV. You can't really know what it feels like to be there. But in VR, they've created this experience that takes people on a car drive with the firefighters. It's actually really exciting. In the fire and how they did their first response to the fire. So it brings us closer to that experience. And then one of the things that I was most excited by is like the power to tell stories. And so people can tell stories about where they live, which may not be, something that you would never experience, like how they live in a refugee camp. And so there is a film called House of Sidra, which talks about Syrian refugees and Syrian camps. So you feel like you're there, you're immersed in everything, and so really build that connection. And the third thing was seeing wildlife and conservation was something that really close my heart. So I felt that many people cannot see, go to Africa or just Amazon, rainforest, and go to all these places and experience like that. There's a tattoo thing over there. So it also brings us closer to those things. Spaces. You can actually go anywhere in the world. So any place that you like, have those encounters with whatever animals you like. Whale sharks, whale sharks and manta rays. About elephants. And so that's just like building connections again. That's our how the people see that. So most exciting thing to do is when you can career in VR, but when you're it's still new, right? You have, how many times have you experienced? You have someone at home, and then have a session. Usually not specifically that. More to sit at home. Okay. And what do you use? Yeah, that's great information. Yeah, and so do you see yourself like exploring more and getting up in that career? We also have a list of questions if you know. I saw there's in the program. There's a suggested list of questions if you need to. If you have any other questions. What's your favorite subject? There's a long way for me to explore why a lot of careers now, like it's nice to have, not just one thing that you're good at or one thing that you study. If you're good at art and science, that's just amazing because a lot of careers require this like for them. Some other eyes, different experiences and with VR definitely there's like this you have the way you design like it's good for journalism and architecture and so artists are definitely where they will come in and help design experiences and they use it as well, like artists use it for Disney, for example, uses it in design of animated films that they have. So, I've seen it in so many different applications. So, if you have a good knowledge of how it works and how to do it,
Do you think animation will kind of morph over more to the XR field, or are they kind of separate, or do you see them?
I think they exist side by side. So definitely, we have the VR players, VR animated films, which experience now. They're not that many theaters, they're just VR, but those are popping up as as part of the experience. You can go and actually in VR cinemas and at home as well. But I think VR is they're complementary. So I know both they don't have their strong points. Yeah, it's exciting. I think next 4 or 5 years we'll definitely see a lot more VR
Is it on this one?
Right? Yeah.
Oh. How do I go backwards? Oh, there.
These arrow keys.
patients and the feel about it.
As a surgeon, I've made completed 9,000 surgeries on social looking to in my profession. Only 9,000. That's really exciting. With an animation, I can reach that news to the face. I could, you know, if it's not a good one, they can maybe reach that in a week. But if you think about it, you know, Google Cardboard had just over 2 million people in it. And like in that series last year. And it's a huge number. And it's like that's the scale of what we can do with this technology is that you can just do things with a wider impact means I can come to it. Yeah.
So how can somebody like police get more involved?
Right, exactly.
I think find what can we enjoy. In the sense that like I'm not a 3D modeler, but I have amazing 3D art. So what I really focus on is user experience and how this works. I go through a lot of the building out and that's what's interesting. So instead of like spending time and becoming the best 3D modeler that I can, I focus on doing good and things I am really good at. And just getting better and better at that. You don't have to be the one man like show. You don't have to be one woman show. You don't have to learn how to do everything. Learn your thing and learn it well. Because you're so much stronger and better as a team. And then if you find experts in different areas, what they're able to do versus one person who's kind of good at what they do. It's really useful to be able to generalize and jump through on like I'm fully doing this. There's also like if you have this one thing you're really good at, and you've got 5 things you're really good at, find that. So if that is software, if that is computer vision, if that is mathematics, if that is chemistry, if that is the hardware, if that is engineering, like whatever it is, if it's the art, if it's the modeling, if it's the graphic side of things, focus on that. Instead of trying to saying like I want to do this is like too good. So pick one thing to start with. Some vice president of VR so that started as VR at UC Berkeley's VR Club. We're the largest VR organization, like student-led VR organization in North America. We've got 515 active members building it. 19 project teams, currently on 5 live industry contracts. We've got hardware tech who are actually like building headsets for AMG. We've got people who do immersive cinema, so they go to shoot these 360 videos and they put them in VR. We've got a 3D animation team who again make animate short videos. We've got a team that does biofeedback, so that I can come up with it, brain signals and they grow cloud and in VR and AR. We've got a team doing the same thing, doing medical stuff and working with surgical training, like anything kind of thing you can do, we have a team doing it. I'm just at a 30 cats. So I will meet with every team lead at least once a month. I try and find us equipment. I like try and meet everyone to keep everything going. I provide the structure of the club. So like when we have meetings, I organize demonstrations, showcases, show off like industry, campus. I try and get this week of trying to get some jobs. So I kind of do what I need to do and what we can offer. You're always busy, you're never actually doing it.
Yeah, it just needs to happen to break that.
What's the best kind of genre to change
Cheap is like, it's really hard. Honestly, like, we are one like, everyone's going to hold like, and those are coming down in price now that we've got like 2 weeks. So,
finish with the last speaker opportunity, we're going to have a drawing for the Frisco headset. So stay around for that for sure. Make sure you have your raffle ticket in there. Sophia, okay, come on. Oh, you give her one.
So we have an immersive data visualization platform. So what that means, and I know it's a lot of great visuals, but essentially it means you can install a website you can log into, you can upload your data, and then through the cloud, that data is pushed to our application. So you can then put the headset on and pick which of our coordination environments wants your data explain it, and enter into your data and step inside it in the same way that you could step inside the Google Earth and walk around the neighborhood. With ours, you step inside that neighborhood and you have all of the data around you. You would display on a geospatial map, building the data on it, or you're like actually walking through the data set. That's one of the environments that's your data set. Then we have like a data stadium that displays all of your different data in a stadium format. So imagine you're like walking out the center and all of your data is given to you like this. And it could be like account records, sales records, transactions, like business or whatever responsible here. And you can play with it sort of like Minority Report, swiping and those things. And then we have like a network one that's like you're stepping into your computer network. So you have all of these areas and relationships between the areas. Sort of like if you can imagine what social run a promotion or a sale on a particular item. They want to see which accounts, so which people spend more during that time, or which ones spend less, and which ones have what's called incrementality, which is a bit of a difficult concept, but if you spend more when the item is less, it doesn't mean that you're making more. So they want to see that if, which ones are bringing us more money, which ones aren't. A high level concept being the effective promotion across these different accounts, people target different promotions to the right people. So that's a use case. We also one visualization learning model that was identifying people to give model loans to and credit card loans to that would have not otherwise received those loans because they didn't have traditional loan markers that would fail bidders. So basically, identifying people with loans. I have difficult concepts. Thank you guys for staying with me. It's kind of like out there. I know. I wish I had something a little bit more simple. I guess the one last one is visualizing cell phone data. So you can put on a headset and you can see your data, your cell phone coverage is your telephone. So I can say I have a dead zone over there, I'm a really strong area over here, and I love color video last week. And this way you can see where to stand with one time dead zone. It's basically simple as one. Oh, I
Yeah.
Sorry about this. So that one is supported on all different VR headsets. Do you like to use on the Lenovo Y or the much use these tend to be we don't need this before and it doesn't matter what I'm doing as long as so if I'm doing right now we don't have a publicly released product because we're doing that at the middle of March. We're doing silent for that. So that one all of the data how we environment. So it is quite challenging to have in the perspective to show knowing the driver data points and the live filter. You can imagine right now if you were a little desire or something, it calls you like so imagine having to run that, same query, right, would show me all of the homes that are $500,000 more within a given neighborhood and run that across a million or 80 databases. And then all for that on untethered headset that has about processing intelligence. So that's a lot of what we do. Here and that's driving a lot of that. Bluetooth, yeah. Every group has asked this question. So there are several different reasons. One of them, bring all your data. So that was this sort of advice for them to drop the body. It also has a 5-letter URL. So it was the easy to get the URL for it for our website. And then also because, things being different than what people want to shipping make people remember. So they think that, I would want to say my company is really, really good for you, but I say it's bad. And so they want to ask questions, they remember you, they engage with you, they want to learn more about my product. So it's a really helpful technique to be different. And, I then show them that I'm covered with my talk myself, all day long. So it sort of fits with my particular brand, being different and standing out as like actually on that way. There are drawbacks and benefits.
So in about 1 minute, we're gonna do our closing, but before that, can I get you guys to pass this sign-up around? It was a sign-in that you guys were supposed to sign on your way in. So let us have your email so we can let you know about interesting thing. It's also a photo release, so like we tweet photos to raise awareness for this event and so forth. So feel free to sign in. If you don't want your picture posted, just say no photo and we'll get that right. Okay? Thank you.
a true reality that everyone will have a VR headset, or is that?
Yeah, it'll happen, but they won't be the VR headsets that we're seeing now. I think by the time it becomes mass market and everybody has one, it'll be something just along the lines of that. Even smaller than but they were literally contemplating all of the hardware so small that you can barely even see it. Have you seen any of those? They have those like glasses now, audio glasses, that literally look like a normal thing. It's just a little thicker on the side, and they have immersive audio and some visual displays. Nothing crazy, but yes.
And what would you use that for?
It would be like to augment the world and your experience in the world. In my opinion, the data. So for instance, if you're walking around the city like you're on vacation, instead of having a tour guide that walks with you, no, this is where the French Revolution happened, and this is the house that, you know,
Who's gonna win?
whatever.
Not you.
Not me. But I love my go. Oh yeah. Ask questions. Pull it out.
Similar to like learning how to make sure that the messages that are coming out of it are positive and are negative impacting on the whole health.
You guys get the shape. Yeah, you're on the end.
I don't think we're so right, exactly.
Pretty cool.
Amazing. So had such a good time. Thank you.
All right.
So we're going to have our final closing event exercise here today. What we want to do first of all is thank our three wonderful speakers. Ben Serby, who was manning another table for us. We had so many girls here, we had to split you up into four groups. That's great. We wanted to thank you again for coming. Words of wisdom. If you learned anything today, maybe one of those, dream big. Women can do anything, including technology. If she can do it, I can do it. And be who you are. And if you can see it, you can be it. I think we heard a lot of those messages today. Again, thank you all very much. It was really exciting, almost a spiritual experience for me. Yeah.
Oh, that's awesome.
So anyway, so what we're going to do now is we're going to have a raffle drawing for the final event here, and if you would like,
Reflections, maybe? Or
what's that?
should we do maybe a couple students want to share quickly?
Well, maybe, yeah. Does anybody have anything they want to reflect, or what you got out of today? Anything that made an impression that you'd like to share with the group? Anybody?
And then your
Yeah,
superpower.
yeah, okay,
There you
yeah,
go.
there we go.
Awesome.
Please stand up. And what's your name? Raina.
It's really nice to see other people who are really passionate about something and able to really just delve into it and just have it, like, be like, I guess not at the center of your heart, but something that just to really follow. Because, like I said, like a lot of my passion, or I mean, it's not like I said, but many my passions were like art and history and literature. And often what happens in class is that we'll have class discussions, and I'm the one who will go off. So, and sometimes though, I've gotten mocked and bullied or whatever because kids will like start giggling about what I have to say and stuff because I do ramble sometimes, which I do need to work on. But it's nice though because I've even had teachers tell me, say like, Rihanna, we love what you have to say, but maybe just break it up a little bit. And, but I would like to one day though have a career where I can, even my rambling will hopefully make sense to people, where I can just be able to teach them what I have to share and things like that.
That is awesome.
Keep doing that. We need more people like that.
Come to XR, you can ramble with me.
Yeah, I was like, don't try and like stop your rambling.
Right.
Because like you have something to contribute, you have a voice, use it and teach us.
Yes. The world is better for you sharing your opinions. Remember that.
For sure.
And it's your rambling, it's our strength. I mean, that's your strength coming out, right? So don't let somebody shut that down because that's not the who you are. And so you move forward knowing that is your superpower.
Awesome.
Some of the most creative people in the world are ramblers. I guarantee you that.
Yes.
Anyone else have anything to share? If not, we'll
We'll do our raffle
we'll do a raffle.
and close
And then
and do
if you
more
would like to
demos.
stay in a little while and do some demos and put the headsets on,
Drum
you're
roll.
very happy.
All right, we have a great drum roll. This is awesome.
766.
Oh.
You? Oh, really? Cool. Come on up. So you can thank Oculus and XR Libraries for an Oculus Go.
Yeah.
You're welcome.
All right.
Okay, thank you all very much for coming. Really appreciate it. If you want to hang out a little bit, feel free. And we'll see you later.
And thanks for coming. That was awesome. Oh my gosh, she's so cute.
What's that?
She's so cute.